Hi, I'm Emily Hargrove and welcome to Prime. The Dallas Institute of Humanities and Culture hosts a monthly discussion group called Ruth Street Irregulars, which is led by the incredible mind of Dr. Guy Story Brown. This season, it's about mapping America's political tradition, highly relevant as we have just had the general election. So I am here with Dr. Brown. Thank you for being here to tell us all about it and to give us your valuable insight.
Well, the Ruth Street Irregulars meets once a month, a couple of hours. It's an exercise in sort of highbrow civics and interpreting the American intellectual tradition, intellectual history in terms of its political heritage, to see in broad terms where it originated, how it developed, where it came from, how we got halfway to where we are and where we are now. And this looks very different from the point of view of following a 24-hour news cycle and getting these tidbits from the different sides, and we're taking a step back and looking at the broader themes of heritage and aspiration of the people. So it's an unusual group of people. It's not a policy wonk type of it's people who are interested in developing their own sense of citizenship and how they can improve the regime from where they sit or where they stand.
So do you have powerful political discussions from all sides?
Yeah, we have. Well, all sides are represented, that's for sure, but the idea is to pursue these kinds of conversations in the first place with an attitude of civility and openness, so we don't get, as in those sessions, as much screaming and yelling as you do on the usual TV show.
Right.
So it is, and therefore you have people making advances in their understanding of who we are and who they are.
Well, I think it sounds wonderful, because there are so many people that don't know that really don't know the intricacies of the tradition over the last 200 plus years.
Well, if I may, one thing, there's a difference in the question of citizenship in any republic, or constitutional monarchy, perhaps, as far as that goes. But in any republic or popular government or democratic government, the issue of citizenship is the core or essential. And in the American tradition, this is very distinctive from other places. That citizenship includes, if you begin at the beginning with the Federalist Papers, the Constitutional Convention, the ratification debates, and so on, a very high demand placed on each individual citizen to understand not just the issues, but what the regime is about and what their citizenship demands. There is nothing like, in this country, at that level, the idea that being a citizen is just being born here and having your opinions as you walk down the street and being for this guy or that guy, and so on. It requires an effort to raise yourself to the level of the regime. That's what the American founding, if you look at those events, that's where it differs from other. No cliques, it's a popular business. You move forward into the debate, the nullification crisis, or the Lincoln, the debates with Douglas and so forth. It has a highbrow stratum that what usually characterizes democratic regimes, the lowest common denominator impulses, it attempts to correct or act as a flywheel to that. So all we try to do is to understand what's the best for the regime, the common good, and try to connect where we came from with where we're going in the noblest way.
Well, and I love that, especially doing it in the noblest of ways, because there's many things nowadays that aren't very noble.
American citizenship is supposed to be an aspiration. You can see that today when there's a trace of it in the tests of naturalized citizens. They pass all this, and so forth. This is serious, and it's the achievement of an aspiration that continues to develop the regime. Now, unfortunately, daily life pulls the other way, and you get into habits and ruts and solidified positions that were maybe had some value 50 years ago, and you repeat them as anyway. That's what the idea is, to keep your eyes on the noblest aspirations of the regime.
Right, and let's just touch on the Federalist Papers for a short while, because you say that the Federalist Papers are the most important documents in U.S. history. Is that correct?
Well, they're among them, certainly, yeah. The Federalist Papers, John Stuart Mill said that the Federalist Papers and Calhoun's Disquisition on Government are the most important modern works in political theory, and that's probably a controversial statement. It was then, but I would sign my name to it. That's true. Those two documents would teach us more about Republican virtues, small r, democratic aspirations, small d, and how to be citizens and whole people than dozens of other things. So yeah, those are certainly the most, and they're not. There's nothing like them in other languages now, or other countries. Mill's representative government in Britain and so forth. It's actually taken out of Calhoun and the Federalist Papers. So I would say, yeah, those are the great. And that's how you interpret the Constitution. You can't hold up the Constitution as itself a document that's sacred in its language and so on, without understanding the context of the debates and how that was hammered out and agreed to.
And that's what that's what the Federalist Papers do. It's 80. Was it 83 essays?
85 essays.
85 essays.
Maybe they were originally newspaper articles.
Oh, how interesting!
Can you imagine today Federalist 10 in say, you know?
You can't.
Yeah, it would slow you up. But this is, and this shows you a difficulty in the regime. If you go to college classes today, it's no trouble to find history majors or political science majors that have a little trouble following complex sentences, compound sentences, subjunctive clauses in the Federalist Papers. Then you take all the number of immigrants who come here, don't have any of this intellectual baggage to start with.
Yep.
It's you can see the tensions and challenges that American citizenship faces, and in order to keep it from dissolving into simply an empire where you don't have Republican, everybody's just a subject and you go along with whichever way the policies are going to be called by the people who call them, whoever they are. Right.
Yes, yeah, that's, well, and the whole intellectual dumbing down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all, that's not an American phenomenon. It's a typical democratic phenomenon. Right. It goes to plays to the lowest common, and it is normal everywhere. But the United States, it started out with the understanding this has got to be pulled the other way, and it requires the best efforts of the best people. And so this is what we try to look at this and just show how it has been done, how intellectual majority, minority views, critical views on the development of things that help us today. But there's no way to give a back of the book answer to that. You actually have to go and look at the discussions and the texts and look at them now and try to filter them for yourself. For I said, you have to actually attempt to rise to the founders or the greatest of the statesmen. That's what citizenship is in the United States.
And as it should be. And I think, and you yourself, your time at the U.S. Information Agency, I mean, you've really been a huge proponent for getting those papers and other documents across to other countries translated into libraries there.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was, well, it's now the Bureau of Educational Culture. It was then too, but now it's in the State Department, and they did book publishing and cultural centers and so forth. And at the Frankfurt Book Fair, it's the world's largest book fair, we took a stand, the United States government stand, and we met with the Soviet, their national stand at that time, and worked out a series of protocols between their publishers, state publishers, and our private publishers, and in the course of which we were able to get carefully reviewed translations of the Federalist Papers and other documents that are unique, especially in an ideological world like Marxist or scientific socialism. Mm-hmm. And it was very successful. It was written up in Time magazine. When they came out, that the lines at the American embassy were much longer than they ever were for visas for people looking for copies of this kind of work.
Oh, amazing.
It was. It was surprised a lot of the people in the government who said, who cares about the Federalist Papers and what's that anyway? But it has, for a certain mind, the political mind, those kinds of writings, Disquisition on Government, the Lincoln-Douglas debates, Federalist Papers, inspire an awareness of what the fullness of life and its political dimension can be.
Right.
And what it isn't, if you don't pursue that aspiration, it becomes, he said, she said, and, they're all, and so forth.
And so for you to have been really personally responsible for that, that's an extraordinary achievement.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I got to ride in a Zill limousine in Cross Red Square with Politburo guys, and I thought, boy, if they could see me, my West Texas, if they could see me now, it was a lot of fun. But it was really, I thought it would be a valuable thing to do. I did not realize, nobody did, how popular it would actually be. We did the same thing in China. And India, but the Soviets, educated Russians are extraordinary, like Germans, extraordinarily literate and reading, and they absorb this kind of stuff more than some might. Other places, I was asked about, should we try to do this in Afghanistan? But Afghanistan's, nobody's literate, and they don't have the slightest idea about it. It's such a political tradition. It's a whole different place. So. It's not politics is never a one-size-fits-all. It's always many, many sizes, and how do you get everybody fitted a little bit? And this takes citizenship, not an ideological prescription, et cetera, et cetera.
And I think we've seen that in this last election, that one size does not fit all. And I think the people that come along to the Ruth Street Regulars class, they are in amazing hands with you, that you are leading that class, and they should not be missing it, because you're an amazing person. So we have run out of time, which is, because I could talk to you for hours about everything that you've been doing.
Well, I just said everything I know, but I'll study and do again.
Well, you need to go and join the Ruth Street Irregulars discussion group at the Dallas Institute of Humanities and Culture. The next one is on November 15th, and then it follows up in December. So dallasinstitute.org. We'll be right back.